via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this morning's live streaming. Silence is bliss. In a university, there was a speaker speaking on a topic. He asked one of the persons, a female person, a question. Does your husband make you feel happy? Does your husband make you feel happy? The answer she gave is a spiritual answer. Her husband felt very confident that she will reply in affirmation, saying that he makes her feel happy always. The woman said, "No, my husband does not make me feel happy. He hasn't made me feel happy. No, he can make me feel happy." This baffled the husband. This baffled the husband. She said, "Happiness is my choice. Happiness is my choice. I was happy when I was not married. I was happy when I was single. And I am happy when I am married. I am happy under all circumstances. I choose to be happy." This is the answer only a person who have a deep understanding of life and is connected to innerness, instead of saying connected to a master. Master replicates your innerness. When you are connected to your innerness, you do not need the master then. The outside, the one that you call as master or sheikh, is symbolic of your flowered, blossomed innerness. As long as your innerness is not blossomed, you need the outside support from someone. And that inner blossoming is known as awakening or enlightenment. Buddha needed the support until the inner flowering did not happen. He wandered for 6 years in search of that inner awakening. He went to all the masters of the time. Alar Kalam was the last master who said, "Only this much I had known. If you happen to come to know anything more than this, do let me know." The moment your inner flower blossoms, you do not need the master. You realize that the master disciple was a game. You are that you are. There is no difference between existence and you. There is no difference between you and me. You are the seed, unblossomed flower, and a master is no more a seed, instead a blossomed flower that has attained to its fruition. How can silence be bliss? There is no relationship between silence and bliss, because both are the two names of one reality. Silence is blissfulness, but in dictionaries it is not so. But in actual reality, in actual experience, silence is blissfulness and blissfulness is silence. Also in actual experience, it cannot be different to different people. The experience of silence of all is the same. The experience of bliss of all is same. As you become silent, what happens? Worries, tensions, misery, noise, clattering of the mind disappears. If any of these things continue, how can you be silent? To be silent means there is no worries, you are in total harmony, there is no tension, there is no misery, there is no noise, there is no clattering. All techniques are to bring this silence to you. A yogi named Lele came to Aurobindo, sat down in meditation with Lele. Lele said, silence your mind. And one by one, all worries, tensions, noise, misery, clattering disappeared. Sit with your eyes closed. As I say, feel within. No worries, no tension, no misery, no noise, no clattering of the mind. No more worries, no more tensions, no more misery, no noise of any kind, no more clattering. And you feel that something becomes silent within. Even if it happens for a fraction of a second, but it does happen. No worries, no tensions, neither within the body nor outside. In that you will find the breathing becomes rhythmic. No misery. When you are not miserable, something relaxes. There is no noise within, or even the outside noise is not disturbing you. There is no thought process, no clattering of the mind. There is a silence which is dancing, which is overflowing. This state is the state of meditation. The state of inner harmony, the state when you have drowned within into the depth of your silence. I'll do it once more. As I utter the words, feel that these things are disappearing. No worries, not even a single. No tension. No tension in the body, mind, veins or anywhere. No misery. No misery of your own or otherwise. No noise within, and even the outside noise is not heard. No clattering of the mind. In that, something settles. The leaf has fallen from the tree, tossing and turning. It comes on the ground, and as it comes first in contact with the earth, it settles. With that, something settled in Laozi, and Laozi became awakened, enlightened, the Buddha. The settling within is silence, is blissfulness. The moment something becomes silent in you, worries are no more, no more tensions, no more misery, no more noise, no more clattering. There is indrawn silence. There is no way to be silent otherwise. This is the only way to be silent. When all the stupid normal activities are no more, when all these stupid normal activities are no more, silence simply clears the ground for blissfulness to happen. Bliss to happen. Silence opens the door for blissfulness to be uncovered. They are almost the same phenomenon because they happen. Both silence and blissfulness happen simultaneously. As soon as silence happens, blissfulness descends. Silence descends, blissfulness happens. Sometimes you are so blissful within for no reason. Silence happens. Both are synonymous. As you become silent, certain sweetness, certain fragrance, and certain beauty simultaneously arises in you. As you become silent, certain fragrance and certain beauty spontaneously arises in you, and you begin to overflow this. Know this as blissfulness. But your silence should not be a repressed stillness. There is a difference between silence and stillness. Silence is not repressed stillness. Silence is not forced. Forced silence implies that you have repressed your mind. Then, rather than doing meditation, you are doing gymnastics, fighting with the mind. It is possible you can force the mind to be silent, but then there will not be any blissfulness. There will be just emptiness, as the silence of the graveyard. It is not the silence that surrounds a dancer. It is not the silence that surrounds a Rumi. It is not the silence that surrounds a Buddha. It is possible you can force the mind to be silent, but then there will be no blissfulness. There will be just emptiness, and the silence will be of the graveyard, not the silence of a garden. There will be something empty, not overflowing. In garden, the silence overflows. In the graveyard, silence is empty. If your silence is not bringing blissfulness in you, if your silence is not bringing blissfulness in you, then your silence is forced and wrong. Then your silence is forced and wrong. Certainly, blissfulness is the criteria for silence to happen. Blissfulness is the criteria for silence to happen. Then doing comes to a cessation. Doing ceases. Doing comes to cessation. Instead of doing, there is being. You are just being. In meditation, silence comes on its own accord. In meditation, silence comes on its own accord. You simply go on watching the mind without controlling it, without repressing it, and suddenly silence comes like a fresh breeze, and with the silence comes the fragrance of inner flowering. Silence comes suddenly like a breeze, and with the silence, with the breeze, overflows the fragrance of the flower. This fragrance of the flower is your blissfulness. This fragrance of the flower is your blissfulness. It is your own fragrance, which you are not capable of knowing because of so much noise. It is your own fragrance, which you are not capable of knowing, which you are not being in touch with. The mind was creating the fuss. Thoughts were creating many dark clouds, emotions and moods. It has become almost like a thick barrier between you and the real self. When the barrier is removed, it is as if you have removed the rock which was preventing a stream, a fountain. You see, river continues to flow. It continues to flow. If a stone, an obstruction comes in its way, it changes its direction and goes around the stone. or passes over the stone and continues to flow. And if stones, big stones are placed, or by nature they come in the way of the river changes its direction, and from river it becomes a fall. Fall have its own beauty. When I visited DC, Washington DC, I was carried to the river where there were many stones, obstructions in the way. At different places, and the water was flowing through and in amidst through the stones, and it took the form of waterfall, a beautiful waterfall with a sound. Somewhere water falling, somewhere water is flowing, somewhere it is flowing over the stones, somewhere is falling from the edge of the stone with a sound, and it's a beauty. The rock which was preventing the stream is removed. And the moment rock is removed, suddenly the fountain bursts forth with a great dance of joy. That is what, if you really look into fountain, the obstruction is removed. The water is gushing with a great force, as a dance of joy, as a dance of ecstasy. Your blissfulness is not something that comes from outside. As the woman said, my husband has never made me happy. He cannot make me happy, and he does not make me happy, because happiness is my choice. Your blissfulness is not something that comes from outside. It springs forth from within you. Just the rocks of your mind, its thoughts and miseries are removed or no more. The water begins to flow from around these stones, from over these stones, and takes the form of a fountain. It is not that you have to repress it. The river water does not repress the stones. It goes around the stones, gives a particular shape to the fall. It goes over and continues to fall, continues to flow. It is not that you have to repress it, because by repressing you will be repressing the fountain behind too. You just allow it to happen. Silence is all that is needed. Silence is all that is needed, and everything else will follow on its own accord. And everything else will follow on its own accord. Only this much for this morning. Until tomorrow, take care and do have a blessed day.